Hi, I'm Sylviaworsham. Welcome to Focus Fridays and welcome to the segment on the answers you seek are inside of you. The relationship between belief, habits, and the identity you hold for yourself in every or any area of your life. So let's start with the two minds and the difference between the two minds, because that's essential in understanding how to unlock it so it works in your favor, how to unlock your unconscious mind so that you become unconsciously competent, and those automatic responses that you currently have that are not serving you can turn in your favor. So the mind you're using right now is your conscious mind. It's your thinking mind. It's the mind you're choosing to watch this Focus Friday video with. And it only represents about 10% of your daily activities, which is very minimal. On the other hand, your unconscious or subconscious mind, they're used interchangeably, those two terms, is your most powerful mind. It represents about 90% of your daily activities. It's where your memories are stored, your beliefs, more importantly, your habits are stored. And it runs on automatic. You know those times that you're driving, and it's happened to me before, I'm probably sure it's happened to you. You drive from point A to point B, and you really don't know how you got there? Well, that's your unconscious mind, because the habit, when you drive, you have formed certain habits. There's a certain way that you drive. You may not realize that, but your unconscious mind does. It takes all that information in, and it remembers it. It's where your memory's at. So it remembers, that muscle memory is in the unconscious part of your mind. And so it remembers all the steps that you take when you go home from set place. Like if you're going somewhere, you usually go in your car and then you come back, it remembers all that information and stores it. That's how powerful that mind is, and it works in our everyday life. So to give you a perspective on how beliefs are formed, I'm going to share with you a story. About 5 years back, in transition from the corporate world into a stay-at-home role, which is what we determined as a couple would be best for our daughter, it was a very big change for me. I was used to working long hours, getting paid. My success and value were tied to the size of my paycheck. And then you transition into a world where it's never-ending dishes, never-ending clothes, and you don't get paid for what you do, but you work like horribly long hours. And most moms out there will relate. What's a very big transition is a very big change. And what happens with these big major turning points is that old belief systems will rise to the surface under times of stress. And when I was a little kid, my dad used to work a lot, and the belief was formed that I'm not enough for my dad, or his work was more important than me. So when that transition occurred in my life, in my second marriage, my husband, much like my dad, decided to work long hours, because now he had the responsibility of providing for a family. So the guys listening to the video right now are probably relating to this story. There's a lot of responsibility. You feel a lot of pressure to produce. And you know, for Donnie, it was about not saying no to his company. You know, he wanted to, satisfy and have that security and that certainty in our lives, financial certainty. And so he said yes to every travel commitment that came up. So what ended up happening was I was alone a lot with the kids, and those beliefs started to surface. It didn't feel good. I felt unworthiness. I felt I was second to my husband's work. I felt I was not enough for him. And the habit that was formed from this belief was I would pick fights with my husband before he left for travel commitments. And so what was the results we were having? We were having ups and downs and a rough patch in our marriage. You see the relationship? So let me break it down to you. The beliefs, number one, the beliefs get formed early on in your childhood, and your unconscious mind stores that information. And when similar circumstances arise in your life, it's an automatic response, and it brings up that belief, and that belief is in the driver's seat, and it is driving your thoughts and your feelings, and it's driving the habits in your life. And the habit of picking a fight with him was formed, and it becomes a habit when it's a continuous thing that you do day in and day out. It was something that occurred every time he traveled. Right before he traveled, there was a fight. Right before, it was a habit. And ultimately it became my identity of being a victim in my own relationship. That was my identity, because the evidence in my daily activity or in my responses to the situation with my husband formed that identity of being the victim. Do you see that, how that works? So 1, understand which beliefs are in the driver's seat. And to do that, quiet your mind. Declutter your mind daily. It's a consistent practice that really benefits you guys. So whatever works for you, take a walk, go exercise, go for a run, meditate, pray, journal. There's a lot of different ways, and whatever works for you. For me, it's journaling. The second thing you want to do is you want to take an inventory of your habits. Be an observer of your habits. Start small. So make a very simple list of from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. And that gives you an idea of what you're doing every day, because that's the evidence of who you are at your core. That's your identity piece. So ultimately what you want to do is the bad habits that don't serve you, like in the example I shared with you about picking the fight, that's an old bad habit. It just doesn't serve my vision for a beautiful, happy marriage. So how to change that? We interrupt the pattern of the habit. And this means that you do something physical with your body and you just say, hey, Sylvia, you know what? Is this the story you choose to believe, that you're not enough to your husband? Look at all the evidence that he's shown you, that he loves you and he supports you and he's supportive and loving. That's a pattern interrupt. And then the new habit would be simply to be a loving and supportive wife to him before he left, because that's the best thing to do for a relationship, for a growth-oriented relationship. And the third and final thing, again, is to take time for yourself. Apply the law of reflection in your life. That is one of the most important key pieces of information that I'll ever share with you. Because when you quiet your mind, when you take the time to reflect on what it is that's triggering you, what it is that's causing problems in your marriage or in your relationships or in your health or in your career, you will find the answers that you seek, because they're all inside of you guys. It's inside of your unconscious mind. I'm Sylviaworsham, your host of Focus Fridays. Thank you so much for tuning in to this very, very important segment on the answers you seek are inside of you, and the relationship between belief, habits, and identity. Have a wonderful week. Stay safe. I'll see you next week. Bye now.